Good morning. My name is Michael McGarry. I'm the Chief of Police in Lynn. I'd like to thank you all for coming here today. This is the 10th year of our partnership with the Shannon Grant. Obviously, I'd like to acknowledge the state and local delegation is here. Councilor Ward 2, Rick Starboard, State Representative Donald Wong, Councilor at Large Brian Field, Councilor Ward 6, Fred Hogan. I saw Mr. Cahill somewhere. Is he hiding?
You can't recognize me.
No. I thought you were Michael Phelps with that haircut. So we want to thank you all for coming here today. Again, a 10th year of a partnership, and obviously community partnerships are an integral key part of the Shannon Grant mission. It's collaborative efforts like this that allow us to reach out to high-risk youth and assist them. I know Lieutenant Holy and a number of the partners here work hand in hand on a weekly and monthly basis, and they do a tremendous job. I also saw yesterday, I got a little notice that the Shannon Grant funding is supposed to be increased by $10 million for next year. So we're asking right now for more money to do more things with this program. It's a tremendous program. I started out being part of it as the deputy chief and kind of moved on, but I always like to follow it, and I know they do great things. So I want to thank you for all coming, and I'd like to introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Patrick Tutwiler, the new superintendent of schools, who's doing an outstanding job.
Come no one's sitting down front. I'm serious. I hear folks standing in the back. Sit down. Can everyone hear me all right? I don't even know if this is on or that's for you. Okay. All right. So I have to tell you, got to see the words on the paper. It's a real pleasure to be here with you this morning. And I really feel like I am among friends, family, in fact. I haven't had the pleasure of meeting everyone in the room, but I do know some folks. And I think perhaps more importantly than knowing every individual person, it's more important to know what folks are about, what they stand for, what they believe. And that's for me, that's where the comfort is derived. Is that feeling reciprocated? Yes. Given the definition at work here, are you all feeling like you're among family? Yes. Do those feelings extend to me? Yes. Perhaps I need to share a little bit, thank you. Perhaps I need to share a little bit more about what I believe before you answer that question if you did not. I'll start here. I take my work seriously, and I have to. The story of education in Lynn has been one of shifting demographics and thus shifting identity, which I welcome and embrace wholeheartedly. Good leaders evolve with their community. And the numbers tell the story, and I'm not sharing anything with which you're not already familiar. The Lynn Public Schools is nearly 70% Latinx. Nearly 6,000 Lynn Public School students are English learners. 60% of these students are level 1 or 2, which are the lowest designations for English proficiency. Approximately 60% of Lynn Public School students are economically disadvantaged. And we have scores of students traumatized by the profound impact of poverty, violence, and other life-altering events. You know these things. I am intimately aware, and thus my work as superintendent is anchored in what I call a moral imperative. A simple statement that reflects my deep commitment to each student. It's a guide for actions, thinking, and decisions. The statement goes something like this. For our students, education is the only means toward equity. The work we do with students is more than Lord of the Flies, polynomials, and the periodic table. I'm talking about leveling the playing field for historically marginalized groups. I'm talking about breaking cycles of poverty. I'm talking about disrupting the school-to-prison pipeline, which we know disproportionately impacts black and brown boys. I'm talking about working with students to help them establish control over their own lives, as there is no more powerful reality than to have control over one's life. For our students, education is the only means toward equity. Our efforts are genuine, thoughtful, and heartfelt, but there are formidable barriers in our work. Class sizes tend to be on the high side, on average around 30 across the district. Social workers, the district-wide ratio was 1 per every 713 students. Guidance counselors at the secondary level, 1 for every 375 students. ESL teachers per English learner, 1 to 50 on the elementary level. No matter how on point the moral imperative, no matter how genuine, thoughtful, and heartfelt the effort, school districts like ours can barely tread water and often sink without meaningful community partnerships. And by partnership, I don't mean organizations or groups of people who lighten the workload, so to speak. I mean partners. I mean power equals with whom we learn and grow, who plan and strategize together, who engage in honest conversations about the work with one another, who have each other's back, who work hand in hand, lockstep, in service of intervening on behalf of young people in need. I mean real partners. That's what I'm about. Feel like I'm family? Okay. Few more people. Few more people said yes. And it's okay if you don't. We'll get there. I'm determined. As it relates to partnership, over the years, there's been some really impactful partnered work with and for students in Lynn. A great deal of it has happened through the Shannon Grant, with many folks sitting here this morning. This past year, we've embarked on a new endeavor, which is to build stronger relationships and systems of referral to Shannon Grant providers. Shannon Grant providers have had a historically strong relationship with Fecht O'Leary and have had a history of working with the students there. And this year, we've expanded our partnership to encompass other high schools. Shannon Grant providers have met with the administrative teams, with further meetings to follow with guidance departments and social workers. In my humble opinion, a shift is occurring. We are moving toward one another as organizations. This is change, and remember that change is a process, not an event. In order for that change to be sustainable, and change in this case means moving toward one another in service of young people, we have to be on the same page. Being on the same page doesn't necessarily mean agreeing with one another on everything, on every approach. No, not that. Some of the most impactful change emerged through disagreement. In my view, being on the same page means operating from the same set of core values. No matter the direction, the disagreement, you name it, if the core values are common, we have a safe place to resume, reset, and restart. Core values have to be the centerpiece of the partnership, and this is precisely why we invited more than 20 partner organizations to work with us on developing the strategic plan for the Lynn Public Schools, the anchor element of which was developing a set of core values. Since October, we've been working on this plan in a highly participatory, facilitated process involving nearly 100 participants, some of whom are in this room right now. We're rounding the final corner of finishing this thing, which I'm happy about. Where did we land on values? If you have a sense for the values evident in the work that will be discussed this morning, and the stories that you will hear, then you already know the LPS values. The reason being, I believe we're on the same page. Whether through declaration or anecdote later on in this morning's presentations, I'm sure you'll hear the themes of inclusiveness, collaboration, shared responsibility, and high expectations. These themes reflect values evident in the work from folks in this room. Friends, family. These are now the formal core values of the Lynn Public Schools. We're all on the same page here, and how often do you hear about communities as large as ours and partner organizations moving in the same direction, embracing the same values, and focusing on tackling the same issues and actually making a difference? In my humble opinion, this is a rarity. This is the path forward, the only path. Henry Ford once declared that coming together is a beginning, Keeping together is progress. Working together is success. I think we're on the right track, moving together with one another, hands joined, core values common. I look forward to the work we'll do in the years together. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Ruben Monsanto. I'm the Associate Director at Family and Children's Service, the lead agency for the Shannon Grant here in the city. I've been connected to the grant for a long time, but this year I'm the project director, so sort of trying to stir things up a little bit, and I'm very pleased to have had the superintendent refer to some of the efforts that we're doing. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the program. But you know, in these events, and this is our 10th annual legislative breakfast, and which I didn't even realize until I put together the agenda. So we're very happy to have this sustained event year after year, but sort of the heart to the event and to the work that we do really comes from the clients and the families that we support. And so we always try to include their voice in the event, and I'd like to introduce a couple of family members, beginning with a mom, Marina Vodka. Could you please join us here up front? Marina's going to share a bit about her experience with the program.
Yes.
Adelante.
Good morning. My name is Marina Vodka. My son Kenneth has been working with Jesse at Catholic Charities with the Youth Connection program since July 2018. This program has been helped not only Kenneth but whole my family. One of the first thing I can say about the service and benefit is when he got a crisis, she was there for support in every way asked. She built a relationship with him based on trust. His community service was a lesson as he helped volunteering at the mobile pantry at Catholic Charities and was amazed how many people he helped out just by bagging food and handing out to over 200 people. The program has recreational activities, a simple jog at the beach, with Jesse got him to distract his negative thoughts. For Christmas, she helped Kenneth and also bought gifts to the house for my youngest. He also was able to be part of the work crew to stay out of the trouble. Jesse has assisted with seeking therapy service along with educational service. I'm very grateful first with God and with the founders who make this Shannon grant possible, to her workers like Jessie, who gives her to her work. May God bless to all of you, and I hope this grant continues to be funded for our youth and needed, because they are our country's future. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Thanks. And nice to see everybody, and I know some of you guys, like you, Don and Jesse, Elizabeth, and everybody. God bless you. Thanks.
Yeah, sorry. I'm a wuss. We also have another parent here today, Ramon Martinez. Would you please join us up front?
I apologize for my little nervous. Never been in front of people to talk about anything. It's always working. My name is Ramon Martinez. My son is Isaiah Martinez. First of all, I want to thank Jesse, the director, and the Shannon Grant, which hopefully, and I hope you guys keep founding, which is a great program. I don't know if it's bad or good. I find about this program, well, my son got in a little bit of trouble, hard-headed. But it's a great program, and I wish I would have found it sooner. As a parent, we always think that we had our son under control, our kids. Just one thing at home, another thing when they're on their own. And we think that we're doing a good job, which I think I'm still doing it, but a little help, it doesn't help, it doesn't hurt at all, which he changed a lot. He changed a lot. Here in my driver's headquarters, he's not a bad kid. He's just hanging around with the wrong crew. And that's one thing we cannot, I mean, we can prevent, but like I said, we're not there with them when they're on their own. All we can do is thankfully reach to programs like this and hope for the best. Like I said again, he's been doing great. He respects Jessie a lot. She's one of the another family member, and I mean, all I can say is the police keep founding the Shannon Grant, and I will be grateful for the eternity as long as I'm here. I appreciate it.
I'm going to need you. Okay. As noted in the invitation and in the keynote address by the superintendent, community partnership is really central to the things that we do. And we have, of course, we have funded partners, and I'll introduce them in a minute. But there's a lot of folks that have contributed to the success of the program over the years, and speak to the point that Patrick mentioned, the need of having shared values and commitment to the same mission. And so there are a number of unfunded partners in the community that have made a significant impact. And this year we thought that it would be important to acknowledge them and to highlight the fact that we're not in this alone. And so I'm going to pass this on to Lieutenant Holy, and he'll be doing a bit of a few presentations.
The first thing I want to say, I need to correct the chief. This is 13 years we're into the Shannon Grant. Yes, yes. And I'm going to pay for that. But so 13 years ago, I was the sergeant in charge of the gang unit at Lynn, and I was just looking over some numbers, and we talk about community partnerships. 13 years ago, we had over 1,600 gang members of Lynn in 27 different active gangs, and today we're at approximately 200 with 10 identified gangs. So that is some significant progress in the city of Lynn. And if you and if you were around back then, we were washed in a epidemic of gang violence, and something had to be done. On our end of the police department, we made over 700 arrests that year, and it was a significant amount of arrests. But we also knew that we weren't going to get out of this problem on our own. So that's why we thank God for the Shannon Grant that came into fruition back then. We started. To me, the big thing then was the teen center. We're arresting all these kids. Let's give them some opportunity. Back then, 13 years ago, we were afraid not enough kids were going to show up on Friday night. Now I'm afraid too many kids are going to show up on Friday night. So it's been a rousing success. Lisa Nerick and Lynn Parks, along with us at the police department, have done a great job. But there's another component, there's another side to all of that I've come to realize that was so important, and that was community partnerships and reaching out to these kids on a one-on-one basis, because these kids, like all our children, have advocates, right? A lot of these kids don't have advocates, and that's what, in my mind, the Shannon Grant has, as the superintendent alluded to, disenfranchised kids, has given them advocates. So a lot of the folks that aren't necessarily funded by the Shannon Grant have stepped up to the plate and helped us tremendously. The first one is, in addition to the Friday night program we have, Friday night and Saturday night program we have at Lynn Tech, the Salvation Army has come forth, and they had a basketball league. It was specifically garnered towards gang members, and they provided their time, they provided the kids with food, and thank God they just showed up, because we're about to give them an award. Captain Johnson from the Salvation Army. Thank you very much.
Feel free to say a few words.
Oh, sure.
Sure.
I wasn't planning on sharing the podium. Yeah.
Well, you know, as a pastor, we're not short of words. So we just love supporting the community and being a part of the community, and that's what the Salvation Army is about, helping out the community and helping the least fortunate. And any way that we can help out, we're always there. So we just thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to help other people. So thank you very much.
Looking forward to ongoing partnership.
So I keep touting, I say that the city of Lynn is a Shannon Grant success story, and arrests for juveniles last year were down 43%. And specifically in the schools, we only had 8 arrests for the entire year, which is amazing for a system that size, and it's an amazing, thank you to Dr. Tutwiler in the school department, but it's an amazingly safe urban school district. But because arrests were down 43%, we were looking for candidates for Shannon Grant services. And the natural solution was, we know that even though arrests were down, kids were still hurting, and there were kids that needed services. So we, through Dr. Tutwiler and Shannon, thank you, in the Lynn Public Schools, we created a partnership where we're now identifying candidates in the schools for services. So thank you again to the Lynn Public Schools. We have a typo in your certificate, so we can't give it to you now, but please, thank you very much. But
You don't
again,
want that red mark, you know?
again, yeah. But again, listen, you know, like Dr. Tutwiler said, it is a family here in the city, and we're all in it together. So the public schools are a huge part of that. So thank you again. So one thing I have noticed, you know, since I've been dealing with kids like this for 13 years, is that hopelessness equals violence. And in addition to education, I think jobs and job socialization is an important part of reducing hopelessness with our kids, and we have another agency that has stepped up to the plate. Mass Hire does a fantastic job in preparing young people for the workplace, socializing them and getting them started in their working careers. So, Mass Hire.
Who's gonna
Soren, come on. All right. Thank you. And Anne Marie, thank you. Again, education, as Dr. Tutwiler stated, is another key to the advancement and hopefulness of our young people. And some kids need one-on-one tutoring and one-on-one counseling to get through their education. And Catholic Charities and the other work that they do helping on young people is invaluable, and again, creating this whole wraparound approach to getting young people through some of the problems they have. And I know that when my phone rings and I see Jesse from Catholic Charities, it is often a problem before the police department even knows about it. So thank you, Jesse, for the great work you've done, and everybody at Catholic Charities. You're a great partner. Yep. Okay. Joan Castro couldn't make it, but she is retiring. She has tirelessly been a case manager of the Catholic Charities. She's not here today, but we still want to recognize that Joan is retiring. So thank you, Joan, out there, wherever you are, for the work you have done. And often, you know, working for a nonprofit is tireless. Nobody gets paid well, but their heart is in the right place, and it's just their work is invaluable. So thank you, Joan, for the work that she has done over the course of her career. So, again, Lynn is a different place than it was 13 years ago, and without all of your help, we have really created a blueprint for how we should address the opioid epidemic. So we have had the gang problem, and now we have this problem, and I think that's the way we're also addressing it. But always remember that Dr. Tutwell alluded to the demographics of Lynn Public Schools. Our experience with the Southeast Asian gang problem many years ago has told us that it's the second generation of new arrivals that will tend to gravitate towards gang membership. So we are very concerned. So now we have the opportunity, the partnerships are in place to get in front of these problems, and so we don't run into the problems that we had 13 years ago. Again, consistent, persistent effort over time leads to meaningful results, and Lynn is certainly an example of that type of work and success. So thank you very much.
We do have an orchid for Joan that we were going to hand out. Well, I don't know if it'll make it safely to her, but we'll give it to Fran later on. Partnership, right? We are a collaborative. We included in the handout today our new brochure, and one of the things that we wanted to do in producing a new brochure was emphasizing precisely that. We've always been a collaborative. We've always been a group of agencies working together with the same mission, and having meetings, coming to the police department, getting information, reaching out. But we've all sort of also had our way of doing things a little bit independently. And this year we really are looking to strengthen that connection and that teamwork to do things more in sync with one another. And so we decided that we're going to refer to ourselves now as the Shannon Collaborative. And the outline of the program is in the brochure. And but I want to highlight a couple of things. This year we did have some struggles. We had some vacancies, and I feel we've filled those positions, and we're coming together, really strongly. I believe we have the right people in the positions right now, and I want to point them out to you all. The parents that spoke earlier made reference to the caseworker, the case manager with their children. Jesse Mariscal is the case manager at Family and Children's Service, at Catholic Charities. She's been doing an outstanding job. She's really, she was flying solo for a while this year, and she kept it together and has done a really, really good job. Thank you, Jesse. Yep, another round. Another partner, fairly new actually in this year to the Shannon, well known in the city in other initiatives, is LYSOA, the Lynn Youth Street Outreach Advocacy. Yeah. And you all know them, I'm sure. Antonio with his New York Yankees cap has his infamy. But Teresa De Gregorio is the executive director, and a newly hired outreach worker who's been already in just the 5 weeks that he's been a part of the program. 8 weeks that he's been part of the program is already making an impact. John Peralta, where are you? There he is. People think of outreach as a recruitment strategy, and most definitely it is, but within the positive youth development perspective that we work under, outreach is more than that. It's really engaging the youth in positive activities, getting them interested, really working within their strengths, and John has sort of embraced that perspective as an outreach worker really well, starting new projects and initiatives with young people, including, I don't know if this is premature, but including exploring the possibility of having an electronic, an e-magazine produced by the youth, written up by the youth, addressing themes and topics of interest to the youth. And we think that it's a great idea. Why didn't we think of this before? Well, it took John to come on board and say, let's try this. And it's been doing a really good job. So John, thank you for taking that on. And other things to follow. Who am I missing? All of the Shannon grants have local area research partners, LARPs. And I don't know how they do them, how they work in other cities, but I know that our partner agency, the North Shore Community College, has done an outstanding, job in she distracted me. An outstanding job, not only in collecting data and helping us put together reports, but really offering us technical assistance, being an active and vocal member of our steering committee, very dedicated to this initiative. And I believe that our programming and our services are improved by the fact that the local area research partner has been the North Shore Community College and has invested so much time, effort, and resource to this initiative. And we have present today Frank D'Agostino, who's the primary researcher for that. And new intern, Angelica Perez. She'll be doing all sorts of fun stuff. She'll be shadowing, learning, supporting, and also collecting data, helping us develop reports, doing data entry, which isn't anyone's favorite thing necessarily, but it's really important to really gather what we're doing and how we're doing it. So we're really appreciative of that. And, well, Family and Children's Service has been the lead agency since 2009? Yes. Is that right? Yes. 2009. And our role was primarily management of the grant, and it has changed over the years, and we've taken on a little bit more hands-on approach, and we also now provide case management services, and we just recently hired a new case manager who has been connecting, learning, and expanding our capacity. Angie Marte. Please stand. Am I missing anybody? That was it. Okay. So those are our partners, and as I said, I think we have a really good group of people, really positive energy, and we're coming together, I think, in really significant ways this year. And partnership is the key to that. Some of the things that Lieutenant Holy alluded to is certainly something that we were very mindful of in terms of staffing the program. The fact that so many of the youths that come to the attention of the police are Latino really meant that we wanted to have that bilingual, bicultural capacity, and we certainly have that now. We've had it throughout for a while, but this time, this year, we're fully bilingual, which is a great thing to do, to have that capacity. And the other piece is, yes, the arrests are down in the city, which is great, but that doesn't mean that the risks aren't there. It just means that we needed to change out how we did our outreach for a long time, and folks at in the courts and juvenile probation and adult probation know that we relied on that partnership very strongly, and we will continue to in terms of kids that have already been identified by the legal system. Now we're able to take a more preventive approach and work with kids even before they get to that point. And so we felt that the partnership with the Lynn Public Schools would be really important to expand and strengthen. Lynn Public Schools has been a member of our steering committee, I think, from inception, certainly since I've been involved, since 2012, so before that. And they've really opened their doors to our outreach workers and really assisting us in identifying youth before they get to that legal system. Because Patrick also mentioned, the school to prison pipeline is a very real thing. kids become disconnected to school and positive activities, then what do? Well, they're more likely to get engaged in negative activities and get to the attention of the police department and the judicial system and detention and so forth. And it kind of takes away their hope sometimes, you know, in terms of being able to do better. So breaking that cycle, breaking that line is really important. So this partnership is a primary focus of the Shannon Collaborative moving forward. We're looking forward to doing really good work. So yeah, I think those were some of the highlights that I wanted to point out in this morning's meeting, where I can't believe we're so ahead of schedule. That's great. I can't end without really asking our elected officials, highlighting, you know, the importance. I believe, you know, the statements made here today already make the point that the funding for grants like this one, the Shannon grant, and also the Youth at Risk grant, which we also receive here in the city and implement with Family and Children's as a recipient of funding through the YARG, and we work with middle schoolers in after-school academic and recreational enrichment programming. And it's it's really important. We get bits and pieces of money. We try to knit it all together so every bit counts. So if I just ask for continued and ongoing support in those initiatives. And with that, I bid you adieu. Thank you. There's plenty of food, folks, and there's certainly opportunity for networking, so feel free.